Hey, how you doing? So, I'm asking you to join me on this synth journey. And what am I doing? What am I doing? Well, let's just take a looky here. I've just got this switched on, and I've also got the MS-20 turned on. Now, at the moment, the MS-20 is, as you can hear, I've got that. I've got that running in. I've got that running into the mixer on the Behringer. It seems a bit quiet. I don't know why that is. That's just, I don't think it matters particularly where that goes. Okay, but I've got 4 mixer inputs. Now I'm obviously going to mix. I can get some other oscillators going. This is apart from a brief attempt yesterday, apart from that, this is the very first time I've properly sat down and had some proper cables to play with. So I'm really excited about this, because this is, as I say, the first time I've ever had a modular synth. I've had an MS-10 back in 42 years ago. I bought an MS-10, Korg MS-10 synth from my mother's mail order catalogue of stuff, and there always used to be a section in there that was about keyboards and things, and that was the bit I would always turn to. I never really got things like that for Christmas. I never really got things like that until I was a bit older and got them myself. But we had, my mum had a piano, my mum still has a piano, an electric piano, and we had an organ as well in the house at one time, but sadly, from my point of view, she got rid of that in favour of of keeping the piano. It's a shame. I really quite liked the organ there. Now, what am I going to do here? I know I'm going to have to buy some more patch cables. I might just as well leave that one in place. It is an MS-20 patch cable after all. So, this is pure experimentation now, and I'm kind of going to work backwards, because I want to know that I know that I need to go. I'm just going to have one mixer input running, and that is going to come from one of the voltage controlled amplifiers. So I'm going to take my input signal, my output signal, like so. I'm going to run that through there. I'm going to take the VCA input. Let's take the positive input, and I'm going to plug that in to the output of one of the oscillators, and I guess I'm just going to go here and I'm going to give it a triangle wave. There we go, triangle wave in there. And now yeah, that's right. Now I'm also going to connect the output of the envelope generator to one of the control inputs of the amp. So that's going to work that. Haven't quite worked out what to do with the triggering situation yet. Oh, heaven knows, I haven't really thought that one through yet. So I'm going to work backwards. So the amplifier, so that's not going to go straight to the oscillator. No, that's actually going to come from I'm going to put it to the output of the fixed filter bank. We're going to do some filtering like that, and the input of that filter just for now. I know that I can modulate the filters and all the rest of it. I haven't quite got that far yet, but I'm going to then take that input. Now take the input of the fixed filter bank. Now take that to my triangular wave, like so. So I'm going oscillator at input the filter, output the filter to the VCA. That's going to have an envelope controller on it, and that also needs a trigger output. So that's the bit that I'm actually interested in working out how to do, because I need to be able to, I want to be able to trigger the envelope generator. That requires a switch trigger input, and that actually an LED inside the case. Wow. Yeah, so it is. Yeah. So the oscillator controller. Now, okay, what's that going to do? Well, I've got the which oscillator am I using? I'm using that one. Frequency control to oscillator. Let's have that out of there. Let's have that frequency control in to the oscillator there. And so it's this oscillator that should be running. That's ideally. So the oscillator is being frequency controlled by that. Okay, so where do I go from here? I need to try and get this triggered by something. Wouldn't it be nice if I could use the control voltage out from the keyboard of the MS-20 and plug it in to here? I suspect that might be something I can do. Tell you what, let's take the keyboard control voltage out and I'll plug it into a multiple output of the mixer, because that's just a set of patch bay switches, isn't it? It doesn't actually connect to anything else. Let's then connect that to the control input. Let's leave the envelope generation aside for a moment. Ooh, I can hear something. Okay, tell you what, let's take that frequency control to another kind of oscillator. So let's take the output of that. Okay, I've decided to not cheat. No, I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to just to get started with the Behringer here, to get started with the System 55, I'm going to do one of the setups from the book. And expressive lead number 2 looks like a good one. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to have to connect a MIDI device up to this to do this as well. Once the MIDI is plugged in, I might have to just reroute the MIDI to play with this bit on its own. But anyway, let's get the wiring done. So we're utilising about various oscillators here. So let's start with the oscillators and the oscillator controllers, and hope I've got enough patch cables of the right length to make this work. Okay, so it starts with the MIDI, and we need to go from the trigger output at the bottom all the way to the swap the mixer. I'm going to take the MS-20 out for a second, and I'll basically try to do what it says about that part, and try and do this as it says. Except of course I've just moved everything across, haven't I? So oh hell, I might just as well use everything across one, haven't I? Let's speed things up a bit. Hi. So last time you saw me was last night. Last section of this video was last night. Since then, managed to have got something together on here. So I'm using what was actually described as the expression, harmonic expression set up here. And because I wasn't sure how it was going to play with the rest of the MIDI, what I've done is I've actually dug out this ancient, and there are other things, ancient things apart from me in this video. I've dug out this ancient Roland PC300 keyboard. It's ever so basic. Bought it years ago along with the Eddie Roll speakers that I'm still using, and also a Roland voice unit, which wasn't so great, and I moved on. But now it happens to be very handy for testing MIDI setups and providing me with additional keyboard input. So here I am. I bet if I play too much of that, I'll get a copyright strike. Anyway, there you go. So it is actually working. And what have we in the end done? Right, so MIDI cable going from the keyboard. It has a trigger output, which is going into this module, but not using it as such. All it's doing here is taking the trigger outputs to the two VCAs. So sorry, not VCAs, beg your pardon, to the two envelope generators. It's triggering the envelope generators to actually run and produce their waveform. And that is the 911 module. That's an emergency. That's a module for those of you in the US. And we've then got the actual voltage outputs, which I'm plugging into the control inputs of, yes, the VCAs. And that's what gives us that. Now, one of the things I did originally, which was, I realised what was going on, was that I had fixed control voltage set on this. And of course, fixed control voltage does, as we say over here, does what it says on the tin. And what it says is it's going to put us a fixed control voltage. And of course, if you do that, what you're going to get is a continuously sounding note, because that's what control voltage is meant to do. It's obviously set the oscillator running. So my first mistake was to have those actually set up to a value. So they're right down to 0 now. And what else have we got? So the trigger inputs, that's basically be all and end all of that, is as I've just described. Then we've got the control voltage output from the MIDI module. CM1A. And that goes into the frequency control input on an oscillator driver. Out of that, we've got a width control. Now the width control is actually an input to the oscillator driver, which is changing the if we're using a rectangular pulse, how that's going to look. And of course, in this we are using pulse widths, so that's what we're getting out of that. So we're using a sine wave here to control the width of the pulses. So that's being controlled by this other oscillator here. And it's actually quite hard to see. You can hear I'm starting to feel a bit craft work about this now. Yeah, anyway. So you see that it's having some bearing on the output. So that's all good. That's plugging into there. Frequency, as I said, is coming from the control voltage MIDI converter. And then we've got the control outputs of the oscillator drivers, and these are going into the adjacent oscillator. So the control outputs are going into the link frequency, that link pair of switches. And of course, I'm taking an output from there, and that's going into the next oscillator's link frequency. If I wanted to introduce the third oscillator, well, I actually could. I could simply link the next one along and have its output fed into the mixer. And actually what I'm doing here is, yeah, they'd all go into this mixer. So the outputs of those oscillators are going into the mixer here. This mixer unit, CP3AM, that is currently has two inputs in use, the outputs of the oscillators, and then the positive outputs of those. That one of them is going through the filter bank and into the VCA, where it's being controlled by the envelope generator. And the other one is going, where is it going? It's going straight into the low pass filter. Now I did have this set up for the high pass filter, but I've just taken that off. So I've got the low pass filter, and then that is then fed into the VCA. So one of my oscillators is going by the filter bank. I don't know, I thought I'd just try it out, but you know what, I'm actually quite liking the I want to put the low pass filter back in again and get so that's working with that, and so that's the entire setup. Now we can sort of play with it. I've still got not a lot of clue about how some of these control units work. So the oscillator controller, which is a 992 module, looks just like a CPA30 module. It's got exactly the same inputs, and but whereas this one says it's frequency control to oscillator, this one says it's frequency control to low pass filter. So if I wanted to bang some inputs to the low pass filter or whatever, then I guess I could. We're not even getting close to what this thing is capable of. Absolutely. I mean, we've got the delay system up here, we've got 2 more envelope generators, we've got 7 oscillators on this thing, which is monstrous. I mean, we've got the 91B modules, each with an oscillator driver, so we can link those across. Then we've got the other VC over here, which is basically, which has obviously LFO capabilities as well. So we've got that one there. Wow, there's a third mixer. Don't know when I'm going to get around to using that one. I'll see how it goes. The attenuator bank, again, not sure. The interface, which is going to give me my S triggers out and things like that. Oh, you know what? There's so much to learn about this kit. It's just incredible. And it's going to take me a while. Oh, I've also got the MS-20 wired into this mixer. This mixer, by the way, I forgot to mention this one. This mixer here is the final output going to my door. Actually, yeah, I'm just playing it through the mixer right now. It's going through the door, so to speak, and that includes the two VCA outputs going into the mixer. Of course, we're everything set up for about midway at the moment. And then to save on inputs on the mixer, I've put the MS-20 into the mixer on here. Don't see why not. They all are going to work together after all. And so that's it. So I've got 3 inputs to this mixer with a master control. And then so the cable here is one of the outputs, and that's feeding back into my audio interface over behind. Etc. You get the idea. So I've got a couple more things to do around here. I need all this kit. I've got, first of all, got to make sure everything's actually up and running, and then I also need to, as part of that, I need to plug in the audio interface and work out how the mini disc player is going to fit in with all this. Because my thoughts at the moment are there is a monitor output from over there on the mixer, which clearly isn't being used at the moment. I'm thinking I can bring that in. I can actually get that plugged into the output of that, and then that in turn, the output of that can plug into the audio interface over there. That's going to be plugged into the GR1, and then we will be able to use that as a sample source into the GR1. Now ideally, having said that, what I like is for that to be a sample source to anything. That being the case, I'm going to obviously have to be able to be flexible about what connects to what in the room. And yeah, I can already see that I've got far more devices than I have mixer inputs. So having said that, how many music projects are going to involve me setting up all this stuff to operate at the same time? I would suspect not a lot. And using the DAW, I am going to be recording bits of something at a time. It's a lot to think about. I've given myself a very long-term project, and it's a journey that I think is going to be interesting, and I hope you'll be with me for some of it. Clearly there are times when I'm just going to come in here and play and do stuff, because that's what I do, but I'm aiming for about once a week, as long as I'm not working away or something. I'm aiming for being able to show you a video about once a week, give or take, of how this journey is going, and this I hope will be interesting to you, and it will also help to keep me on some kind of track. And the way I work, I teach people anyway. That's my job in industry, and if I'm talking to you as an audience, I feel like I'm also I'm maintaining the obligation to myself to try and do the best I can with it. So thanks for watching. It's been quite a journey getting to this point. We're not quite there yet. Hopefully in the next video you'll see how that comes about, and I'll probably do a little video which is based entirely on using the GR1 with the mini disc and see how that works. And for those of you who've not seen that mini disc, well, that's going to be a bit of a revelation as well. I love this old technology. It wasn't old to me, of course, but it's now somewhat life expired technology, but it is fabulous, and I love that piece of kit, and I'm definitely glad I've got it. Okay, so thanks for watching once again, and I will see you in another video. This is Trev Talks Tech signing out for the time being. Thanks a lot. Take care. Look after each other.